Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I've got quite a nice rack, but it's unbalanced. And by that I mean all the tiles are bingo-y, but I don't have enough vowels. I may have a bingo if opponent plays a vowel, but certainly there's no 7 on my rack. If opponent changes, I'll probably play Drant. Difficult to see any good alternative plays. Now, opponent does provide a vowel. Does it give me a bingo? Well, nothing's come to mind. Foe takes an N at the end, so I think I'll avail myself of that. Dant for 19. That looks a little better. I have turbans and nut bars. Dant takes an S after it, as indeed does phone. So I have bingos in columns 11 and row J. Do I have any 8-letter plays? How about something through the O? Not seeing anything. I do have the out prefix, but that's not presenting a bingo to me. Not seeing anything with the F. F and B don't go well together. Great, so I have nut bars and turbans in row J. Has opponent provided any alternative spots? Well, V takes nothing after it as a 2-letter word. And only an S of the tiles I have goes after double A, so I don't have anything in column 12. How about a play through the H or the O? Well, I've already considered the O, so how about the H? No, not seeing anything. So I think I'll play nut bars for 71. Great, I have Brangle. Not sure if that goes anywhere, but it's a pretty good pickup. In fact, it does go. It goes in row G, making F. Do I have an alternative bingo? An opponent may be attracted to the triple word square at the bottom. Let's hope he is. The O looks a useful floater. Not seeing anything. I have the A-B-L-E ending, but I'm not seeing anything ending able with GNR. What if an I were to become available? I would have the ING ending. I would have blaring. And there may be an anagram of that. Great, Brangle remains available. But Brangle in row G puts a B in the middle of column 1. There's a much safer placement now in row L. Brangle for 79. And that's pretty tough luck on opponent. Whenever you have back-to-back bingos, there's a huge amount of luck involved. There's only a 1 in 7 chance of drawing a bingo with 7 random tiles, so that's a great start for me. And this is a pretty good pickup. No bingo here, but I've got good scoring tiles in the Z and the X and a couple of vowels to help play them. So, where can I play? Well, I have Zex and Ox in column 12. That'll be a big score. I also just have Zex in column 13 through the E. Well, that's going to score a lot less. What about a play getting the Z or X doubled and the word tripled? Wow, opponent takes my beautiful spot. That is such a shame. So, what shall I do? I do have X in row M. I would hope to be able to do better than that. What about retaining the X and playing Fez? Well, let me First of all, think about playing the X up here. I can play mix for 53. Now, can I do any better than that? This isn't massively dangerous. Nothing goes after hex, so I'm only holding out the prospects of a 2-letter play or a 3-letter play in the top right, neither of which are going to score very much, except for me. If I draw an I or an O, I would have Ms or Moz. So this looks a pretty good play. Fez would score a lot less in row G. That's the move I was about to consider. What about Zex through the E? I was thinking about that. Well, that wouldn't score as much as mix, and it would retain F and M, which don't go well together. I'm going with this. Pretty good. So I should be able to get rid of the F and the Z this turn, and leave a good rack leave. I have Fez in row G. I don't draw a vowel to play in the top right. I have Fees on my rack. And that plays in row M. Bib takes an E at the end. Now, pretty fast start. Still 17 minutes on my clock and 16 on opponents. And half the bag has gone. So, 28 for opponents. And my eye is immediately drawn to the bottom row. I have Zine in that spot for a pretty big score. It doesn't get rid of the F, but I don't think there's a way I can do that. And the rack leave is going to be pretty good after Zine. So Zine for 69. And I draw another power tile in the J. I don't think I'll be playing the F with the J, but it's good to keep scoring big scores. 69 for Zine, 53 for mix, plus the 2 bingos which I had earlier on. So I've established a 170-point lead. Wow! Opponent has both blanks and draws back to within a bingo's reach of me. So how to respond? Well, I'd like to play off the J for score, and I'd like to split up the duplicate I. So is there somewhere for J or Adji? Well, nothing has come to mind. Z takes nothing in front. I do have J for a dismal score and opening up a possibility for a triple word play by opponents. I have Jin, less dangerous, but scoring fewer than 20 points. I'd like to do better than that. Is there really nothing with F and J? Well, there would be through a floating A. I would have Jaffa. Do I have anything in column 13 getting the F or J doubled? I don't think so. I can't get the J to play twice above the O. Any other hot spots? Wow, I was pleased to see the J, but it's not proving good on this rack right now. Well, what about playing Refi? 21, retaining the J for score. Now, can I do better than Refi? 21 isn't a great score, 14 minutes on my clock. If for 28, much bigger score, not terribly dangerous. A bingo would have to begin with a T or an S. And the score certainly justifies playing here rather than Refi. Those 7 extra points are worth it. What about a play through this Eye of Divvy? Not seeing anything. I am going with if. And a pretty good rack apart from the J, so if I can get rid of that, then the rest of the rack is pretty good, and I've drawn 2 of the tiles which can go after GIF. Opponent may play a short word at the top but that's okay. Now, I was going to say I have Taj, but AF not good. I have Jet and TI. Again, not a great score. What about a play which gets the J doubled? No, not seeing one. Now, it's the beginning of the month, or near the beginning of the month, which means a brand new video has gone up on Patreon for the supporters of the channel. It's a very exciting 5-minute game with quite an extraordinary ending, so I hope you enjoy that if you're a patron. Now, fantastic play by opponent. He's just 50 points behind. He's punished me as much as he can with a 56-point play in the top right. How to come back from that? Maybe that was a bit reckless. So I would have quite a good rack leave if I played off JA. I would have style. But this board is distinctly lacking in bingo lanes, except row G is quite good. I think playing JA in row N is too dangerous. There are no REJ plays. Jet's not bad, especially since the gift hook has gone. It provides nothing for opponent, it scores over 20 points. If I dodge vowels, then row G is quite hot. I've also got DE to play through. But I am placing myself in a position of needing to dodge 2 vowels, and that's actually going to happen quite a lot of the time, so maybe I can do better than that. Do I really have nothing down from here? Well, not that I can see. I don't have anything for going in front of the P, and anything after it is going to open up triple word squares. Tricky position to be in. Rack is so bingo-y, and there is this bingo lane in row G. Well, what about playing Jai here? That keeps a pretty good rack, which goes very well with any vowel that I draw, and also with any pair of vowels. I am going with this. Well, that looks jolly close to a bingo, but I'm not seeing a 7. And there is a 7-letter lane in column 14 for bingos hooking Y. This feels like there could be a bingo here. I have tail yes, that's it. Tail yees, probably. And that does play in row G. Fantastic. And it doesn't start. I should be getting new glasses soon, so I should be able to count squares better. I had thought that row G bingos were going to open up column 1, and in fact they would if they overlapped just the F, but tail yees overlaps F and O, so stops 1 square short. And I hope that remains available, because there are no other bingos that I've spotted with this rack. Just checking to see if that plays with a massive overlap in row N, and it doesn't. Now, row O, there is a front extension of Zine, which I don't think I've had the tiles for, but it's Daid Zine, D-A-I-D, and those tiles are still available. One more incentive to play off all 7 with tail yees. Now that spot may go. There aren't a huge number of scoring spots around the board. But opponent trails, so he may see the merit in playing down from RE. Fantastic! Tail yees remains available. Our takes a P in front, but no Ps, and both blanks have been played. So tail yees for 70. And I miss every tile indeed. So for the first time in this game, I think I have a pretty ropey rack. However, there are scoring tiles, and they do play with 1 or 2 O's. So I'm looking at the Y of tail yees to see if my K can go there. It would have to be an EK play, and I'm not seeing one. Opponent may well play in row H, but if he does, he's taking out bingo floaters, which he may need for a comeback, so he may leave those alone. This double word square between the E and the I has stayed open for a remarkable length of time, given how useful it is to put a scoring tile between 2 vowels. I think the best I can do in this spot is weak, but that keeps 3 O's with 2 in the bag, so I'd be surprised if that was optimal. I'm not necessarily looking to play off the K with the W. What I want to do is to keep scoring consistently. Opponent crept back to within 30 or 40 points of me, but I've since extended my lead to 130. And if I keep scoring 30 and 40 points, a bingo or even 2 bingos won't be enough for my opponent. So very few spots for the K and the W. KOW is good, so I could play that in column 14. And column 15 is not a bingo lane. Brangle takes nothing after it, so there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares there. Now look at this. The only scoring tiles left are Q and W. Wow. So this could be a slow end to the game in terms of scoring. An opponent's play of hour means that Dade sign is no longer playable. What a shame. It's one of those words, when you see it, you wonder if you'll ever play it. And I'm still wondering, I've never seen it played as an extension design. Now, opponent scores 28, takes out some floaters, which is good. Or takes a K after it. So at the very least, I've got KO. KOO not good. Nothing goes after TE and in front of K. ALK isn't good. Well now, how terrible is this? Uke for 39 points. Really tempting. If I'd played just KO, 28 points, 11-point difference. I think actually that makes KO better because, given there are so few scoring tiles, the W is quite useful. And 28 points is actually quite a lot. Can I do better? And I'm looking to play off 10 minutes on my clock. I'm looking to play off the K and an O as a minimum, or W and O. And this spot above the Y, where I could put my K, I'm not seeing a way of playing off any O's, which is why I'm not playing that. I think I'll go with this. I'm not in a hurry to draw the Q, and I don't. So what have I drawn? Well, no more O's, fortunately. I do draw another E. Let me check the remaining vowels. 8 out of 20, so slightly vowel dry, but really fairly balanced. And this board is getting super tight. I guess column 13 is the best bingo lane through this E. So I think I may play there next turn. I have Owie in row M, O-W-I-E, which would sort the rack out nicely and crush the bottom corner of the game, of the board, and in particular take out this bingo lane. And at the moment, opponent could play quiet in that spot for a big score. I think he's too far behind to catch me. But it's always nice to score with as big a margin as possible. There could be some extensions for stay, but none are springing to mind with this rack. Row E, a bingo lane for bingos ending in A. Well, there are bingos ending in A, but there aren't a huge number of them, and they can be difficult to spot. Opponent takes my owie spot, which is annoying since I did not have an alternative play in mind. So, what to do here? I have the W for score, the Q is still out there. There's nowhere I'm looking to take out. So it's just a matter of scoring. 8 minutes on my clock, 11 tiles in the bag. Gawk is good. Well, the best I can see there is Geo or GOE. That's not bad. Geo doesn't take very much in front, 17 points. Quite tempting. I could play the E. Not terribly much goes in front of EL of the remaining tiles, but C, D and T do. So why give your opponent that opportunity? Far less goes in front of OI. In fact, none of the remaining tiles do. I am going with Go. I draw more vowels, and I dodge the Q. So hopefully this is going to be a stifling end to the game, as the board gets completely shut down, which is exactly what you want to do when you are ahead. And it doesn't matter that I'm a lot ahead, because this will maximize my chances of finishing with the highest winning spread. Now, I've still managed to retain the W as a scoring tile, but I haven't really seen many scoring spots for it on the board. No A's to come for Ago or 8. The vowels O and E go well with the W. Can't see anything onto the A. And I'm not seeing anything in the bottom right. Tick has really choked everything up down there, which is fine by me. It took out the bingo lane in column 13 and the quiet danger. Now, I could play wool in column 5. That's providing no bingo floaters at all. And it's keeping a reasonable rack. And vowels are quite useful at the end of the game, because you can generally slot them into places, and there are a lot of short words comprising only vowels compared to the number of words comprising only consonants, which is really tiny. Great, look at that, just 5 points. Now, Rec takes an S after it, and there is an S out there, so I do need to attend to this danger. That's a good play, because it's not easy to see how I can block that. 7 minutes on my clock. Now, Uppo is good. What I want to do here is take out row O as a bingo lane, but also take it out as a row in which opponent can place the Q on this double letter square. And I can do that. I can play Woon for 21, and I think I prefer this. I could play 1, but that's keeping 4 vowels, and I'm not massively bothered by a little 2-letter play, bottom left. And I'm retaining an I for QI, even though I haven't identified anywhere for that at the moment. So I am going with Woon. Can I do any better than this? Can I make this go further along? No, I don't think I can. Wow, I draw the Q. And opponent, I think, has a pretty bingo-y set of tiles. Hopefully Woon has extinguished his bingo chances. But he only has to hook AIN, which he could do with an E. So if he has an E S bingo, that may go, but that's quite a big ask. Now, what can I do with the Q? Just 4 tiles left. I may get stuck with it, which would be irksome. Having played quite a few short plays with a view to dodging it, that has completely failed. So, any QI spots? I have an L for going after A. Great, just 30 points. That could have been so much worse. And opponent has emptied the bag, which bodes ill for this Q. 6 minutes on my clock. Are there really no Q spots on this board? I don't think there are. Opponent's got OE bottom left. I've got something similar. I could play double E in that spot. And I'm just wondering about resigning myself to the fate of being stuck with the Q and doing the best I can in that knowledge. So I could play Ed here. 27 points. It stops opponent scoring about the same. Opponent may make an error. It's possible in terms of allowing me to play QI. And I may have one more shot at setting it up. But the trouble with trying to do any setup for QI is that given the tiles opponent has got, it's going to be super easy to block. So I'm going with Ed. Now opponent has got to avoid putting the U in the open because that may assist. I'm still looking for Q spots. It's always annoying when there is one and you don't see it, and that happens more often than it should do. But it doesn't happen terribly often. Well, I'm certainly not seeing anywhere for the Q. And I'm just looking around now at isolated eyes. I've tended to focus on the eye on my rack. No, not seeing anywhere at all for that Q. If opponent wants to stick me with the Q, he would be advised to play out slowly. So from now on, I think I need to play out slowly as well to thwart that. So Ed was quite nice in that respect. It was only 2 tiles and scored nearly 30 points. Opponent down to just 4 minutes on his clock. Now Tick takes an E in front. Do I have any plays which reach the Z? I don't. So I lead by 150, so this game is in the bag. I'm wondering whether to look for the best spot for each of my tiles, but I have 4 minutes left, so there's no necessity to do that. Go takes an E after it. I can't really use that to much effect. Now 12 for opponent. He provides nowhere for QI. So I'm going to play off either R or L, and I think I'll play off the L. That way, if opponent makes a mistake and puts a U in the open, I would have choir. So where can I play the L? I would play the R if there was a bigger score available. So I'm just going to scan the board. There's La. And see what's available. There's Arl. There's Tell. There's Let. And I sort of have in mind as well whether I can create a Q spot. La. Wow, so there's absolutely nothing with the L. So I could do this. That does set up a Q spot, so opponent does have to do something about it. So I'm going with Leet for 4. So I'm setting up a Q spot, but I'm also retaining 3 tiles on my rack. So if opponent blocks it with 1 tile, I can still play off an R and then an I in a subsequent play. Three minutes on opponent's clock, 3 minutes on mine. So this game pretty much going down to the wire. But as soon as you have the possibility of a Q stick, which is the jargon for when you can't play the Q, games often do go down to the final seconds because it's in the player's interest who doesn't have the Q to maximize value. Yeah, nice play by opponent. He has blocked my spot. Can I set up a new Q spot with the R? 2 minutes on my clock. Well, I can, because QI and Aya. I'm going with this. And opponent could play Lyra and go out, so I think this is probably the end of the road. You may be relieved to hear. I couldn't see anywhere else for setting up a Q spot. Yeah, opponent does go out. Leaf at E7 onto EF. And the final score, 395 for my opponent, 502 for me, a winning margin of 107 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Always good to get over 500 points. Now, this was opponent's opening rack, and he has the blank. Plays foe. And I played Dant for 19, that looks fine. Opponent plays Hovea, and now I have nut bars and turbans, and those are the only available bingos. Opponent's rack, and I think he misses these, and he does, so he had pinioned at H4 through this N, and the same word elsewhere, and periodide, a 9-letter play, F3 through DE, very difficult to spot. Now, my rack, and I have Brangle for 79, and that looks best. Wow, tricky one to see. Legedom. And Demiveg, a great play, or great word rather. Opponent plays Gem, but Legedom went through the O of Hovea, and Demiveg went over the top of Phone, both jolly hard to see. Now, my rack. A13, fix. I think I played Mix in this spot. But fix would have been better because M is more bingo-y, and I think M goes better with the Z. So, yeah, fix would have been better. Opponent's rack. Plays Divvy. And now I have Zine for 69, which was a really nice score. Opponent now has both blanks and plays them with Pioneer. And I'm about a bingo ahead, and there are still 2 S's to come and a lot of space on the board. So I play If for 28, but Jeffes was available. I13, Jefes through the E of Brangled. Pretty horrible rack leave. So If leaves Aeijs. Jeffes leaves AII. Wow, so, and there's a 22-point difference in score. Is there a 22-point difference in rack leaves? It may be close. Aeijs, I would say, is positive. It's really quite nice. I'm going to score off the J. So I don't think the J trashes the rack leave value. That may be worth 10 points. And AII may be worth -10, so there could be a 20-point swing there, which is close to the 22-point score difference. Anyway, I play If. And opponent plays Stay. And now my lead is just 50 points, and that was the closest my opponent got to me. Jetes was available. I didn't play that. Wow, I played Jive for 14. Jetes definitely a better play. Now, opponent's rack. Plays Hour. And wholly undeservedly, after missing Jeffes, I have a playable bingo in Tail Yees. And that really secured the win. I was 130 points ahead, and there's only 18 tiles in the bag. Opponent has a bingo, wristed, but nowhere for it. Plays Jew. And this is the beginning of the slowdown in the game. So just 15 tiles left, and we've both got over 10 minutes. And from here on into the end of the game, I think it's 2- and 3-letter plays all the way. So I thought about Uke, played Co for 28. Opponent's rack. Plays Tick. My rack. I played Go for 17, not much more on offer. Opponent's rack plays Wreck, and this really gave me food for thought, because opponent was signalling either that he had an S or that he was hoping to draw one, and I needed to do something about that. So I play Woon for 21, and that looks fine. And opponent doesn't have a great rack, plays rust, and now I draw the Q. Is there anything I can do about it? The bag is empty. Well, there isn't. Look at this. All of the rack leaves contain a Q. So I play Ed for 27. Opponent plays roll. And these recommended plays now are pretty useless because I'm looking to set up a Q spot. So I play Leet. Opponent plays Yule. I play Re, and opponent goes out. So, what a game. Absolutely a fantastic start with back-to-back bingos of Nut Bars and Brangled, but opponent came back into the game with both blanks and with a 50-point play of Stay to be within 50 points of me. I then drew away with Tail Yees, and we had a really drawn-out endgame with a stuck Q, which doesn't happen very often, so good to have one of those on this channel. Anyway, many thanks to my opponent for a great battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.